Pastor Steve? Hey, Pastor Steve? Uh-oh. Pastor Steve, why the long face, huh? I'm no expert here, but I think something's wrong with Pastor Steve. I think maybe finally's broken. I'm no expert here, but I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to wear a party hat like that and have as frowny a face as he has. I tell you what, let me put my plans on hold for a minute here and see what's going on with Pastor Steve. All right? Okay. Let's go check it out. Okay? Hey there, Pastor Steve. Hey, looks like you're a little bit down about something, and I'm no expert, but you're wearing a hat that looks like a party hat, and you have like a party noisemaker. Something wrong? You want to talk about it, maybe?
I know you mean well, Al, but I don't think there's anything that's going to make today better. I invited a bunch of people to a party, and nobody came. And I got everything. I got my hat, and I got a little, like, fold-up pinata donkey thing, and I got noisemakers and everything, and nobody came. So I think I'm just going to give up. I'm done. Even if anybody comes to the door, I'm not going to answer it. I'm just going to go to bed and sleep away the day. I'm done. This party is pooped. Nobody came, and so I'm just giving up.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear you, Pastor Steve. You invited people to a party and nobody came? Well, no wonder you're feeling down. Oh, and you do have such great decorations. I mean, look at that great donkey little pinata looking thing. That's great. I'm so sorry that nobody came, Pastor Steve, but I know you're kind of in the dumps. But well, what if we started over? What if we tried again with new people? What if we used our friends? What if we invited our friends from Sunday school to join us here right now in this video to be a part of a party celebration? Would that be all right?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Try again with all of you? What are you thinking?
You see, Pastor Steve, I'm thinking about, actually there's a Bible story that kind of is all about this, about how there was somebody who was going to throw a party and nobody came to the party, and instead of giving up and deciding that the party was just done, he decided, you know what, let's just invite new people. We'll invite all kinds of people, the good and the bad and the rich and the poor and everybody's and anybody's, because that's kind of how God's party is, that everybody's invited, everybody's welcome, and God's party will keep on going no matter all the ways we sort of try to ruin it. What do you think, Pastor Steve? Would you let us give it a try and see if our friends from Sunday school would join us here in this video to celebrate?
You mean all of our friends at Sunday school who are watching, that maybe you would celebrate with me today? Well, I don't know. Do you think it would work?
Let's find out. Hey, friends from Sunday school, would you join us right now and try and help cheer Pastor Steve up and make a new party right here? Would you celebrate with us? Let's give it a try, all right?
Okay, I'll try. If you say so, if you think it'll work, and if our friends who are watching are gonna be part of our celebration, let's try it again. This party is back on, okay? All right, let's give it a try.
We're going to discover that in God's kind of party, there's all kinds of people who are invited. Not just the well-behaved people, but the people who got left out before, the ones that everybody thinks aren't good enough. In Jesus' day, it was tax collectors like ZACCHAEUS, but also fishermen and the rich and the poor and men and women, everybody. And maybe we can try and create a party right now. What do you think? Would you celebrate with us? Let's try it, Pastor Steve.
watching the videos with us. We're going to dig into another Bible story for today, but we've got some special guests who are with us today.
Hi, I'm Becca.
I'm Abby.
And Grandma Becky.
Great to have you with us. I'm especially glad because today we're going to be talking about a story about a party, and I'm pretty sure the three of you are experts at parties, at being at parties, at throwing parties. You know how to do it well. So before we dig into the Bible story, tell me, what does it feel like when you get invited to a party? How does that feel inside when you get an invitation in the mail or as a text message or an email? But when you get an invitation, what does it feel like?
Special.
Okay, definitely feels special.
Excited.
Okay, excited. What do you do when you get an invitation? What does that do for you? When someone gets you invited to a party, what are you going to do now?
I put it on the fridge.
You put the invitation on the fridge. Why?
So that I can remember the date.
Okay, so it's important. It's not just, oh, I got something in the mail, but there's now an event I'm going to go to and I want to make time for it, right? So you may even, clear your calendar or check and see, oh yeah, I can go that day, or oh, I've got a dentist appointment, I'm going to move that dentist appointment because I want to be at that party, right? You decide if it's important, you want to do whatever you have to do to get to be at the celebration, right? What other kinds of things do you do to get ready for a party you've been invited to?
Sometimes you check and see who's there because you don't want to get into a feud with good old Aunt Joan in the middle of someone's wedding.
Okay, so you might have to think about who else is going to be there, who's on the guest list, okay. You might want to make sure you who's going to be there that I know. There's all those issues. What about if it's like a birthday party or a Christmas party and you're expected to have like a gift? You usually have to think about what am I going to get the person, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure you have a gift.
Okay.
Just show up to a party without a gift.
Okay.
Well, you gotta decide what you're gonna wear.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just pick whatever you want to pick out of your closet or your dresser drawers, but sometimes they'll even tell you this is what we're all supposed to wear for this party, right? Like what are different kinds of things you might be expected to wear?
Like if you're a bridesmaid or a groomsman, you're supposed to wear that certain color or that certain tux.
Yeah, so if you're invited to be a part of like the bridal party at a wedding, they may say, we picked out, here's the dresses, here's the suits, or here's the ties, this is what we want you to wear, and they'll even provide them for you. You get measured, the whole thing, and then you're supposed to wear that for the party, okay?
Or if it's like a pool party, then you might want to bring a swimsuit so that you can swim with everyone.
Right.
There's also costume parties.
Yeah.
You need to dress up for the party.
Exactly, and those are things that would come on the invitation, right? That nobody is going to fault you for not knowing to bring a swimsuit for an outdoor party in the winter on a ski slope. But like if the invitation says, it's a beach party, come to the beach with us and we're going to swim, you know to bring your swimsuit, right? Or if it's at Halloween time and it says, we're having a costume party, you know if you're going to come, you're supposed to, right? Because that's part of what, this is the kind of party we're having. This is how we're going to celebrate and have a good time. All right, what about the flip side? What about not when you're the guest, but what does it feel like if you throw a party and people don't come that you invited?
Hurt and disappointed and sometimes angry.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Why might people not come to a party?
They have like an appointment or Grandma Edna's in the hospital.
Okay, so there might be emergency reasons that somebody, I really want to come to your party, but I'm sorry, last minute, yeah, Grandma Edna, she got sick and I need to visit her in the hospital. Or
you might have a good reason.
Yeah.
There.
Or, oh my goodness, we have non-refundable tickets to Australia on a cruise, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be in the middle of the ocean when your party's happening. I'm sorry, I can't be at your party. But if somebody gives you a lesser excuse, like, yeah, I got an invitation, but I was going to be checking my social media that day, or I'm going to be washing my hair that day, how does that feel?
Angry. It makes you angry.
Yeah, like it sort of sends this message of you are not as important as whatever other thing I choose to spend my time on, right? When people make the choice of I would not rather be at your party, I would rather be doing something else. Yeah, and it's and if they give you something really that feels really lame, like I have to be sitting on the couch taking a nap that day, that feels especially like, wow, I'm my chopped liver kind of thing. Right? So it can hurt, right? It can really hurt. And we're just ordinary, everyday people talking about our parties. The stakes are even higher if we'd be talking about like the official royal wedding of the crown prince of a country, right? So with that in mind, let's take a look at this story. This Bible story comes from Matthew chapter 22. And Becca, would you read us the story Jesus tells?
Once more Jesus spoke to them in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his slaves to call those who had been invited to the wedding banquet, but they would not come. Again, he sent other slaves, saying, "Tell those who have been invited, 'Look, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fat calves have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet.' But they made light of it and went away, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his slaves, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his troops, destroyed those murderers, and burned their city. Then he said to his slaves, 'The wedding is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore into the main streets and invite everyone you find to the wedding banquet.' Those slaves went out into the streets and gathered all whom they found, both good and bad, so the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guests, he noticed a man who was not wearing a wedding robe, and he said to him, 'Friend, how did you get in here without a wedding robe?' And he was speechless. Then the king said to the attendants, 'Bind him hand and foot, throw him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen.'"
Okay, that was a lot going on in that story. And I don't know about you, but I kind of got like a Disney movie vibe, because I've seen in my days with children a lot of movies with a prince and a princess, and there's a big royal wedding at the end, and this is the big celebration. So I get that, and things get pretty dark in this story. Help us unpack what actually happened in the story. What happens at the beginning? What sets the whole thing in motion?
So a king has a wedding banquet for his son, and he invites people to the wedding banquet, and he sends multiple people to, "Hey, the wedding banquet's today, why don't you come and get over here?" But they don't come, and they kill the slaves and then go do other stuff.
So this is not just any wedding, which is a big deal to begin with, right? This is not I blow it off to sleep on the couch, but this is any wedding is an important thing. On top of that, this is the crown prince's wedding, and if you are the king of a country and you're having a royal wedding, chances are you're inviting like dignitaries from other countries, right? So the diplomat from such and such a country, the emissar from that country, these are all your expected guests, because they're all gonna be guests at the official royal wedding in support of the king and the kingdom. And when they come up with lame excuses like, I'm not really interested in coming, I've got to go to my farm, I've got to go back to work today. Really? For a wedding and all the food is prepared, and you said you were coming, and I based my meal plan on the people who said they were coming back, and the cows are already in steak form, they're already ready to go, and we haven't invented refrigerators, so they got to be eaten today. What an insult, right? So no wonder the king is upset, right? And not just at the expense of, I threw this big party and you all don't want to come, but if you are saying, I'm not going to come to the king's son wedding, that's kind of like a slap in the face to the king, right? That's like insulting the king and saying, I don't think you're being a very good king, and I don't support the next king who's going to come after you. We have a word for that, that's treason. That's like saying, I'm opposed to the king, I'm making myself an enemy of the state, an enemy of the country. This is like if you had just watched 2 hours of an Aladdin movie and you finally get Aladdin and Princess Jasmine together, they're about to get married, and now a new villain comes along and tries to ruin it all, right? You have to sit through more movies and more songs. So understandably, the king is upset, and all the people who had basically insulted him by saying, I'm not coming to your party. Nope, you're banished from the party. But does the king give up on the party then?
No.
What does he do instead?
He invites all these nobodies from the street, and he's just like, come to my wedding. All these people didn't come, but I'm still gonna give you a chance.
Yeah, so he decides the party's not gonna be canceled, that the joy can't be canceled, the party is unpoopable, right? So even though these other people have decided to be party poopers, nope, the party's gonna go on, and the king brings in, like you say, you have to imagine people are just hanging out on the street. These are homeless people or people waiting for employment. These are anybody's and nobody's, people who didn't have something else to do on their social calendar either, and they get invited to the party. What do you suppose it feels like if you're just an ordinary schmo and a royal dignitary comes and says, you've been invited to the party, come on in? How does that feel?
Honored.
Yeah.
A little bit surprised too, why are the dignitaries and people not being invited? Did they do something wrong?
Yeah.
Right.
I get all this free food.
Right.
I think you would feel how am I worthy to go?
Yeah.
Why would they ask someone like me?
Yeah. Especially if
all the other, big so-and-sos are expected to bring big fancy presents and all that, and you don't have time to get big fancy presents,
I
right?
don't have enough money to get things fancy.
Exactly. But it seems like the king's invitation is, it's not about you bring me gifts and just come. I want you to be at the party. I'm not going to give up on spreading this joyful celebration as far and wide as I can, right? Now, there's a little wrinkle to the story too, because, okay, the servants bring in everybody off the streets, the well-behaved and the stinkers, the good and the bad are all guests at this party, and they're all celebrating, but then there's this other part where somebody is there without a wedding robe, right? So what happens to them?
So the king goes up to him and he's like, how are you here? How did you get in without a wedding robe?
Yeah.
And he seems kind of offended that he's in there without a wedding robe on this special occasion.
Right.
And then he just doesn't do anything. Like, he's like, why are you in here? And he's like, not responding.
Mm-hmm.
So then he gets mad and throws him into
Throws him
darkness.
out, right? Now,
Darkness.
that might seem like it's a bit extreme for us, but if you have been to a wedding, we talked about this just a minute ago. If you get an invitation and the invitation says, here's what we're wearing, if you're gonna go and wear a costume. If it's a swim party, yes, you're supposed to bring your swimsuit. If it's a roller skating party, expect to roller skate. That's how this works. And if you are, say, in a wedding, often the bride and the groom will say, here, we bought you this dress to wear. And it doesn't matter whether you would have picked it out. It's, I want to be a part of your special celebration, so you wear what they ask you to wear. And if you would say, yeah, I'm going to come to your wedding, but I'm deliberately not going to wear the free dress you gave me, how does that feel?
That's just rude.
Yeah, that's being rude, right? And even just beyond politeness, it's sort of like saying, I don't care about you having a good time. I'm more interested in doing what I want. That's kind of a jerk thing to do, right? So if you can imagine, again, in a setting like this, all the guests, even the people just pulled in off the street, the king's going to have, here's the robes they're all wearing, here's a robe at the door. And if you've been handed a robe and you just set it down somewhere and say, nah, I'm not going to wear that, again, that's an insult to the king. That's like saying, I don't care what you want, king. Yeah, again, we're because this is the king, this is treason, this is pretty serious stuff, right? And yet, the king doesn't give up on there being a celebration, even risking the possibility people are gonna not show up to the party or insult the king by not wearing the robe or something like that. And yet the king is willing to do it anyway. Now, a lot of times when we look at stories Jesus tells, we listen to them because they have something to do with, they tell us something about God. And a lot of times, when Jesus tells a story and there's a king, or there's a landowner, or there's a father who's the head of the household, we often go, oh, well, that figure must be kind of like God somehow. So let's maybe start there. What are ways that maybe this has something to tell us about God or how God runs things?
Because God accepts everyone, no matter whether you have a present or anything like that. He still wants to have everyone be there.
Okay, so God has this way of including all kinds of people who I might not think are acceptable or good enough or well-behaved enough or fit my pattern of who's an acceptable wedding guest. And yet Jesus seems to think God's way of ruling the world, God's way of loving us is to invite all kinds of people, whether or not they work on my list or not, right?
Yeah.
And that when we say no to God, when we reject God, that God doesn't give up on loving the world, but God, well, I'll just invite other people. I'll just keep going and inviting as many people as possible, far and wide. That's a pretty cool thing, right?
It's like there's these people that are just like, no, I'm not gonna come to your party, I'm not gonna hang out with you. And then he's just like, all right, let's go find some other people.
Yeah. And when Jesus would go from place to place in his lifetime, often he would start talking to the religious people, the people, who said they knew about God, and they didn't want anything to do with Jesus. They know, Jesus, you let in everybody, you love everybody, you don't care for the rules as much as we do. And they rejected him. And instead of Jesus going, oh, well, I guess I'll give up on loving people, Jesus said, all right, then I'll just move on to other people. And he picks a bunch of fishermen and tax collectors to be his disciples, and then he sends them out, let's go find the sick people, let's find the outsiders, let's find the people that everybody else looks down on as sinners and not good enough, let's invite all of them. And now we're a part of that community. I mean, all these thousands of years later, we get to belong because at some point somebody said, oh, God's love is for everybody, and Jesus embodied that. He told stories about it, and then he did it. That he didn't just say, wouldn't it be nice if this is how God did things, but he says, this is how God does things. God invites the people off the street to come to the party, so the party can't be pooped. And then he includes people like you and me and all of us. And for folks who are watching us too, God's love includes all of us and welcomes us to the party, and it's not about what we've done to earn it or to deserve it, right? So what might it look like for us to try and share that kind of love with other people now in an ordinary day, in an ordinary week?
We could always tell people about it and help them to get ready and be nice to people.
Okay, being kind to people, even if they have not been kind to us, or maybe even if they don't fit our cookie-cutter picture of who we think is acceptable, right? Okay.
Like if people are gonna like not be nice to you and not want to be with you, you can just be like, all right, I'll just go find someone else to be friends with instead of you.
Yeah, okay. So we don't have to like keep picking fights back. We can say, okay, fine, I'll be kind somewhere else, right? And that idea of always inviting more people, that sort of the more the merrier idea, it makes for good parties. But that's good theology, it sounds like. Jesus thinks that's how God runs things. God's looking to invite anybody and everybody, and there's no longer a condition or a question of are you good enough, or do you have a good enough present, or can you pay God back? It was never about paying God back. Just being at the party is what God's been after all along, huh? So maybe this week, each of us can look for ways that we can invite other people to hear about God's love too. That might mean inviting them to church, or it might mean sharing a video like this with them, or us being willing to tell them, God loves you too. But maybe it just starts with loving people without condition and without expecting that I need something back in return from you. But how can we be kind? And maybe that's how we begin to invite people to God's ongoing party. Cool.
It's a pretty special thing.
I think so. Well, thanks for helping me to make more sense of this story and for sharing your party-going and party-giving expertise. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and join us next week as we consider more stories from the Scriptures together. Thanks, everybody. Bye. Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He climbed up in a sycamore tree, for the Lord he wanted to see. And as the Savior passed that way, he looked up in the tree, and he said, Zacchaeus, you come down. For I'm going to your house today. For I'm going to your house today. Zacchaeus knew that he'd done wrong, and sorry for his sins was he. Lord, to the poor I'll give 1/2 of all my goods, said he. And if I've cheated anyone, 4 times will I repay. And Jesus said, salvation has come to you. I have come to seek and save. I have come to seek and save.
Well, look at that. Seems like we've had a pretty good time today anyway, even without the original guests not coming to Pastor Steve's party. Maybe this is a reminder that God's kind of joy just keeps on lifting our spirits even when we're feeling down in the dumps, and that God's party is unpoopable. That's funny. Hey, before we go, would you join me and we could pray together in the words we've been using to end our lessons, our time together? Could we pray together the Lord's Prayer? Is that all right with you? All right, let's try it. Ready? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Hey, thanks for being a part of the party today and cheering everybody up. Thanks. More celebrations next time. Bye.